What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the debut of the Combo Show live here on Stadium Drive Sports. My name is Kevin Britton. I am the host of the 12th Man at Arrowhead Drive.
And I am Sean with the Royal Way.
So we're going to be bringing you guys some Chiefs news, Royals news. I actually have some breaking news on the Chiefs to talk about today. Also, if you guys are here and want to leave any comments, post any questions, we will be more than happy to respond to you live right here on the show. So we definitely look forward to hanging out with you guys for a little while today. All right, what's going on? Sean, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. Catching up with the Chiefs is going to be fun to do as all this moving and shaking's going on, whatever. Same with my screen there. Try not to hit Yeah,
right on.
Not much moving and shaking over with the baseball side of things. We're just stuck at a stall with that strike. So, we could start off talking about the Chiefs if you'd like.
Yeah, for sure. Before we jump off, just kind of let everybody know what days they can catch the Royal Way.
You can catch it every Monday and Thursday. It's usually the Royals off days, so when there's not a Royals game, you can always tune in to the first episode of the day instead of having to wait for Tuesday or Wednesday for the Monday show or during the weekend for the Thursday show. It comes out every 9 a.m. Central Time, so, be first to hear the breaking news because it's going to be up to date as soon as it hits.
For sure. As I mentioned, we do have some breaking news in regards to the Chiefs, but real quick, want to let you guys know that you can catch the 12th Man at Arrowhead Drive every Sunday and every Wednesday for all of your Chiefs content. So the Royal Way, 12th Man at Arrowhead Drive, all available to you right here on Stadium Drive Sports. Sean, I don't know if you heard the news yet. I don't know. For any of you guys that watched my last video, the one on Sunday, if not, go back and check that out. We actually talked a little bit about potential releases, and I talked about how I thought Frank Clark would end up being gone, Anthony Hitchens would end up being gone, and we're halfway there. So Anthony Hitchens was actually released today. So we have an $8.4 million cap savings that we're looking at there.
Sounds good.
So I don't know if you heard that yet, but as I expected to happen, that happened. Didn't think it was going to happen that quick. But
I just heard about
I know
it.
That you talked a little bit on Sunday about possibly wanting Anthony Hitchens to restructure, resign. I think it's still a possibility. We released him, but there's that chance we could potentially re-sign him on a new contract. But I'd like to know just a little bit your thoughts about this team moving forward without Anthony Hitchens.
I think it just comes down to the point to where we're going to let him just see who wants to sign him. We'll let him venture off to see if he can get a better contract, because we probably told him, look, we're going to have to restructure, and you'd probably better off somewhere else. So we'd basically let him do that by just releasing him. We're going to save that money, which is great. But I kind of wanted to keep him around because as a mentor to the young linebacking core. But as this kind of indicates, is that they're ready. They're ready to roll. So sounds good.
Agree completely. I think that everything's kind of in motion now with Anthony Hitchens being gone. So good leader. He was a good leader for the team, but like I said, the play just hasn't been there. So I'm totally comfortable with us moving on without him. Now, Sean, I don't know if you realized, but today, the two of us are bringing together our two shows, the Royal Way and the 12th Man, here on the Combo Show, and bringing that to all of our viewers that decide to tune in. I don't know if you're catching on yet, but today is 2 2022.
Oh, it is. That's awesome.
So, with that being said, I wanted to ask you a question. Can you guess what number this question revolves around?
I'm going to guess somewhere between 1 and 3.
Pretty close. Kind of falls right in the middle. 2.
Oh, okay.
So I want to know, man, who out of the Chiefs or Royals that wore the number 2 or the number 22 would be your favorite?
I have to think. Well, 22. We've got a current one with Thornhill, and then we've got an older secondary guy with Marcus Peters. I'm gonna have to go Marcus Peters when it comes to the Chiefs wearing number 22. I guess 2 belongs to maybe a kicker. Dustin Colquitt.
Yep.
So I'll go with him when it comes to the Chiefs.
Right on. So funny enough, we used to joke around about Dustin Colquitt, in a good way for him, but a bad way for the Chiefs. We used to for probably about 3 years straight. We always said Dustin Colquitt was the Chiefs MVP because it was a time that our offense was not stellar.
Yeah,
but we called him our MVP at that time.
When your defense is a lot much better than your offense, it's when you can pin him back like that, close inside the 10, like he was doing. It really helped out, and you see that a lot in college too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So for my number 2 or 22, mine would have been one of those two, right? As far as Peters or Colquitt, I think Peters probably. The only other one that even pops in my mind is Dexter McCluster.
Oh, yeah.
McCluster wasn't bad for what he did. He wasn't like a stellar player, but good on returns, nice little gadget guy. But between the Royals and Chiefs, my favorite number 2 or 22 was a number 22 that played the outfield for the Royals. That would have been like mid to late 80s into the early 90s. So he would have been your third outfielder with Tartable and Bo Jackson.
Let me guess. I'm going to guess Jim Eisenreich.
Absolutely. Jim Eisenreich.
Yes.
In a close second place, though, is Alcides Escobar with wearing number 2. I definitely liked Escobar. And correct me if I'm wrong if you know, Sean. Was it Patek?
Yes, it was. That's the first guy that ever wore it, I think. He wore it in 1971, and then he wore it from 75 to 79. So, he wore it for one of the longest, but Alcides Escobar wore it for the longest. It was about 7 years, I believe, from 2011 to 2018. So I'm going to go with Alcides Escobar since he wore it the longest. The other guys that wore it were John Buck, Brent Maine, and now Michael Taylor is wearing it. So he can move on to that. Moving on to pumping up the number 2 because so far it's just Alcides Escobar and Freddie Patek wearing it.
Yeah.
And as for number 22, Wade Davis. I'm sorry. David Cohn.
Wade Davis wore it for like 1 year, right?
Yeah, just 1 year, 2013. And Dennis Leonard wore it the longest from 1974 to 1986. And like you said, Jim Eisenreich, I had them written down. That's why I'm thinking you would have mentioned him. Well, when I'm going over this list, all I'm missing is Juan Burrito. Sorry.
Juan Burrito?
Yeah.
How many burritos? Just one?
Just one. I'm going to have to go with Wade Davis. I could say Dennis Leonard is the best to wear the number, whatever, but I didn't watch him, so he wasn't part of my era. I got to see Wade Davis and all his glory, so I'm going to go with him.
Okay. Right on. Perfect. Now in some very non-breaking news.
Mm-hmm.
Still no word on the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. So Eric Bieniemy, for all we know, is still a free agent, if you will. The Chiefs still don't have an offensive coordinator. I think we're actually the last ones, if I saw correct.
Really?
I think we're the last team still looking for an offensive coordinator.
Okay.
Do you think EB comes back? Do you think because obviously, like, NFL offensive coordinator is kind of out of the question if it's not the Chiefs. Does he go be an OC in college, head coach in college? Like where do you kind of see him looking, or do you see him just coming back?
It depends on where his goals are set. If his goals were set as becoming a head coach, what's going to look better on your resume than being the head coach or being the offensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs, one of the best prolific offenses in the NFL? Where's he going to move on to trump that? If he can't be a head coach by now, I know he's not doing bad interviews. I've heard the guy talk. He's not an illiterate person, It sounds like he should be able to get the job. But anyways, it depends on his goals. He could be a head coach in college, sure. If that's what he wants to do and run things, makes sense. So, I would keep him. I would think that the Chiefs would like to bring him back. But they are doing some moving and shaking. From what I heard, they fired they didn't fire him. He went to Miami. I don't know if he resigned or whatnot. It was the safeties coach. So Donald D'Alessio is now the new safeties coach for the Chiefs. So we're maybe there'll be some more moving and shaking in the secondary. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely need to address the offensive coordinator and the quarterback spot or the quarterback coach spot with Kafka leaving as well. I mean, we're coming up on the combine. Like, you kind of need to know what your direction is, where you're heading by the combine, and then the new league year starts off in less than a month too. So definitely need to figure it out. I see we do have actually a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Joe Prince tuning in if he's still watching. What's going on, Joe? We're actually going to be talking about a Steeler, or potentially a former Steeler, here in just a couple of minutes. So definitely want to get some feedback from you when it comes to that as well. So Sean, if you don't mind, we can kind of jump into a little bit of NFL free agency talk and kind of get rolling with that if you're good with that.
Sure.
So I wanted to talk today about the wide receiver position. Yeah. So I think there's a glaring need for a wide receiver 2 on the Chiefs. I think everybody's pretty much in agreement with that. And I was kind of thinking through it, and should we be looking free agency? Should we be looking draft? And I take the Mahomes trust factor into consideration quite a bit. I don't know that he would trust a rookie wide receiver to be his number 2 and really utilize him in that manner. So I think that free agency might be a better option. There's some big names out there. I think we steer away from the 2 biggest names because they're also going to be the 2 biggest salaries. And, well, honestly, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to pay somebody to come in at number 2 the same amount or more than what we will be paying Tyreek Hill, because I do assume we're going to extend him with this upcoming year being his final year. Yeah. Now, I have 3 guys in mind that I think are legit high-end options that are more on that second tier. So they're not named Devontae Adams or Chris Godwin. Okay. Got some stats on them that we can kind of talk about as well. But with our Steelers fan Joe watching, let's first talk about Juju Smith-Schuster. So we made a run at him last year. He opted to go back to Pittsburgh and kind of stuck it out with Ben for his last year, but he's back in free agency again. So to give you a quick rundown on Juju, and then you can kind of give me your feedback on what you think about him being an option. So Juju, 6'1", 215 pounds. So he's got a little bit of size to him. He's only 25 years old. So definitely getting that youth factor in there. And I wanted to look at some stats, but last year he only played 5 games. So I went back to the year prior, so we really had a full sample size. Okay. So in 2020, he played 16 games. He had 128 targets, 97 receptions, 831 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So, Joe, feel free to leave a comment. Let me know, as a Steelers fan, what your take is on Juju, if you think he's a good fit for the Chiefs. But, Sean, what do you think about the possibility of bringing in Juju? Do you think it's a good fit?
I was astounded when you told me those stats because to me he had a quiet year. I didn't hear him much. It was a quiet year for the Steelers as well. I mean, wasn't an explosive year offensively, but for you to say them stats like that, I think if he could bring those over to Kansas City, we'd be just fine with that, and he'd fit in as a number 2 perfect.
Agree
Yeah, we'll
completely.
definitely take that. And,
For sure.
he shouldn't
Well,
be.
Joe says he doesn't think that he's leaving. He thinks he's staying in Pittsburgh.
Makes sense. I would keep him too. You can't let him go. Those were pretty good stats.
I don't see it for Juju staying in Pittsburgh. Like, I really don't. And I'm just trying to look at this like legitimately from an aspect that I think Juju may look at this from as well. Is they already have Deontay Johnson. They have Chase Claypool. They're also a run-heavy team as well. So that's going to make him, potentially, third option, fourth option.
Yeah, that's why they have him running underneath a lot more too.
Yeah, for sure. But also, like, okay, Big Ben's gone. He obviously didn't have a great year anyway, but he's gone. So who is their quarterback going to be next year? Are they going to ride with Rudolph? Are they going to draft somebody? Free agency kicks off before the draft. So I would assume he's probably going to want a payday. So he's probably going to want to make a decision before that draft. So if you're Juju, would you rather stay in Pittsburgh with 2 other solid receivers and a heavy run game and a rookie quarterback? Or would you rather come over and play where there's 2 other receivers, obviously, if we consider Travis Kelce as a receiver, but you're playing with Patrick Mahomes, you're playing in a pass-heavy offense as well. Do you see a reason why he would stay in Pittsburgh?
Only the money. If somebody offered him a really good contract with some good years ahead of him, then yeah, I can see him venturing off. I haven't really heard anything in particular on why he would want to leave Pittsburgh when it comes to an issue. Now, the only thing I could tell and see is that he'd probably be drowned out when it comes to rookie quarterback getting in there and trying to feed all the receivers over there. There's 3 pretty good receivers. All 3 of them are good. Plus, you said they're a heavy running game. So in order to make him satisfied, it's going to be more difficult in Pittsburgh than it would be anywhere else. So it could be more money, and it could be where he could be a great number 2 or potentially number 1 with, a nice long contract.
For sure. So I have a couple other guys that I did want to talk about as well, and we can kind of stack them up versus Juju and see which route we would rather go if we were running the team, right? If we were Brett Veach. Mm-hmm. The next guy I want to talk about is Mike Williams, somebody we're very familiar with, seeing as though he plays for the Chargers, so we play him twice a year, every year, and we've gotten his best, that's for sure. Yeah. So to run down that same info for Mike Williams for you real quick, bigger guy, he's 6'4", so you're adding some height there. 218 pounds. He's only 2 years older than Juju. He's 27. Last year he played 16 games, so we're matching apples to apples for how many games they played. He had 129 targets, so basically the same as Juju. Mm. He had 76 catches, so about 20 less catches than Juju did. But he had 1,146 yards. So you're looking at about 300 more yards with less receptions and the same amount of touchdowns with 9.
Yeah, that's that underneath stuff that Juju was seeing with Ben Roethlisberger. He would just get rid of the ball quick on some underneath stuff. He'd get more catches that way. That's why I was pretty astounded when you said those stats that he caught 90-something balls out of 125. Yeah. That's pretty good. And that's why they probably got to be little 5-yard passes. But Mike Williams, gosh, that guy's good for bombs, and Herbert definitely showed that this last season.
Yeah, definitely. Now, when I look at Mike Williams, is he going to match what the Chiefs will utilize? Right. As fans, we always talk about, we need a different type of receiver. We need a bigger guy. We need a possession. We need a guy that can just kind of, you can put it up to and he can go up and catch the ball at the high point. But we really haven't ever had it anyway, right? We've
Just
always kind
Dwayne,
of had
some
that speed
Dwayne
receiver.
Bowe, maybe. Dwayne
Right.
Bowe was a guy who would get up and get it, but that's a long time ago. And we've needed that big body receiver. We're not going to get it with Josh Gordon. We tried to steal one there, but we need a legit one, a tall, big body guy.
Yeah. Now, let's see here. Joe says, Allen stays injured. Herbert ain't letting Mike go. I don't disagree with you, Joe. Like, I can definitely see them bringing Mike Williams back. Like, that's definitely not something that is outside of the realm of possibility. I just want to explore the option of if he does hit free agency, is he an option for the Chiefs? And can we utilize him for what he's actually good at? Because Mahomes has never been the guy since he's been with the Chiefs to put the ball up and let somebody just go up and get it. He's always kind of thrown to the guy that could get separation. I'd love to see it. We saw it with Fortson, a very, very small sample size, and it was effective. I'd love to see us kind of continue down that path with a bigger bodied wide receiver that can high point. And Joe says, Chark. Yeah, DJ Chark makes some sense as well. He's definitely somebody that I'll be doing some breakdowns on my future shows to kind of look into free agency as being options as well. Now, so let me first ask, before I move on to the third guy, if we're just comparing Juju and Mike Williams, which one would you be taking?
I'd probably go with Mike Williams. How old is Mike Williams? Do you know?
27. He's 2 years older than Juju.
He's 2 years older.
Sign him to a 3-year deal. You got him till he's 30.
Yeah. With the fact that he's a big body and whatnot, and he can go for the long passes, which is accustomed what the Chiefs do. Just by a hair, just by an edge, I would go Mike Williams. But I'd be happy with either of them.
Okay. Looks like Joe agrees with you. He says if Mike goes to the Chiefs, it's game over.
Yeah, I don't see Mike Williams coming to the Chiefs because, you don't just move somebody over to your division rival and say, here's another piece to your explosive
It's his choice,
offense.
though. It's free agency.
I know it is free agency, but gosh, man, if they could pay up and they could retain him, they might be thinking about that whenever the Chiefs start getting that out in the news saying, oh, we're interested in Mike Williams. Chargers going to be like, oh, we better get that paperwork going.
Right. So we're Mike Williams so far. I agree with you. I like both options, and I'm totally fine with either option. But if I did have my choice, I would take Mike Williams as well. The third guy, the final guy I wanted to talk about a little bit today is Michael Gallup out of Dallas. Mm-hmm. Also been rumored that the Chiefs would have interest in Gallup. Now, as I started to dive into the numbers, because initially I'm like, oh, Gallup, that's a nice option. I do think he does great work around the sidelines. He has impeccable footwork, good route running. He can high point the ball as well. But then I started diving into the numbers. I was like, let's really get a comparison here. Yeah. So we'll see how apples to apples this really is. So this past year, he only played 9 games. So I nixed that. I was like, let's look at the year prior because he played a full 16. Mm-hmm. Okay. So in 2020, he played a full 16 games, less targets than the other guys. He had 105 targets. Okay. Of his 105 targets, he had 59 receptions.
A little over 50% there.
Yeah.
That's not too good.
893 yards.
He was a deep threat.
And 5 touchdowns.
It's about average.
Now, I looked at those numbers. I'm like, those definitely don't stack up. But if we're looking at the numbers, is it fair to Michael Gallup that they don't stack up? Because 2 years ago, who got hurt and was out basically the whole year?
Dak Prescott.
Exactly. So he didn't have, I guess you could compare him to Juju because Juju had been. That was kind of the same thing. As whoever Dallas's backup was. But is it fair to compare the numbers to the other guys considering his quarterback situation?
I think you are what you are. We've seen him with Dak and we've seen him without. To me, if he came over to the Chiefs, he would be in competition with Pringle and the Jet, McCole Hardman for that number 2 position. Of course, he'd win, but barely. He wouldn't be a huge impact for the Chiefs to me. He might be asking for too much money in that aspect. We'd have to get him cheap. I would want somebody like, wow, the Chiefs got him, and then with Hill, we need something like that. That's what I'm hoping for. If we're gonna do it, let's do it. Otherwise, there's some other names out there better than that name that I'd like to see, like Juju and Mike Williams. So
Yeah. If we look money, though, I mean, Mike Williams is going to be the more expensive of the three.
Yeah.
I think that he's probably going to be looking somewhere around between 13 and 15 million a year, if I had to kind of guess.
Ooh, that's not cheap. Okay.
No. Juju would be right around probably the 8 million mark.
Yeah.
Maybe 7 million, kind of as a bargain, because he only came back for like one game after the injury he had this past year. Gallup could be the financial steal, though, because remember, he got hurt and missed the end of the season.
Yeah.
So he is coming back off of an injury. Therefore, you could get a big discount. You may be able to sign somebody like Michael Gallup for $5-6 million. Maybe give him a little longer deal.
Yeah.
And he's only 24. He'll be 25 on March 4th. So he'll be 25 by the time next season rolls around. But you could potentially give him a longer deal and kind of backload it with some team options on those last couple.
Yeah, like a 5-3-2, $10 million deal for 3 years. That wouldn't be too bad at all. So
I think we have some options. I think we'd be looking at like $4 million the first year, $6 million the second, 7 the next, and then maybe 10 the fourth year. But that fourth year would be like a team option. So you're not tied into that 10 mil that last year. But if he works out and he kind of gets to his ceiling, which I think if he's able to reach his ceiling, he's well worth $10 million for a year.
Yeah, it's funny how it works out like that, because you could tell the player, on that last few years that, look at all this money that is in your contract. But unless it's guaranteed money, we could easily get readjusted on that contract or just darn right cut the guy, So it's always in the Chiefs' favor when that stuff comes down. That's why Mahomes was happy when he got his guaranteed money. But at the same time, the Chiefs were happy because we're able to restructure some things as stuff goes on down the road, So.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The Mahomes contract gives us a lot of flexibility for the next like 4 or 5 years. There's a lot of flexibility there. And the salary cap just keeps going up. So his numbers at the end of the contract won't be as impactful as we think it will be right now. Because it's like, I want to say, 4 or 5 years down the road, it's like $40 million that he's getting, which sounds insane, but
it won't be at the time.
Yeah, once the cap goes up, he may not even be the highest paid quarterback per year come that time.
No. Yeah, we did sign him at the right time when it comes to all these quarterbacks getting these monstrous contracts, because I don't see it slowing down anytime soon.
No. So out of those three, Mike Williams is your choice. He's the bigger splash. He moves the needle the most for you.
Yeah, absolutely. If we can afford it, and it seems like we will, because there's still a couple of names on the Chiefs roster on the defensive side of the ball that we might let loose and get rid of, including the Shark, Frank.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't want to say the Honey Badger, but I have to. The Honey Badger as well.
Yeah. So doing the numbers, we have the possibility with, if we do release Frank Clark post June 1st, we have different extensions and restructures that we can do for current players as well. Yeah. We could end up freeing up between $54 and $64 million in cap space. So I definitely Mike Williams is my pick, but there's a caveat to that. Mm-hmm. If we choose to go spend money in other places, I'm okay with it being Juju or Gallup that we bring in, because if we're going to go out and sign, re-sign Matthew or replace him with like a Jesse Bates or somebody that's going to demand like a good chunk of money.
Yeah.
Maybe we bring in a higher salary defensive end. Maybe we bring in a high dollar corner, right? Like there's some other places we could go and invest our money. And instead of going Mike Williams for, 15 million, we go Juju for 8 or Gallup for 6, right? Different options. So I think Brett Veach definitely has his work cut out for him, really deciding where they're going to invest in. And I like to look at trends, right? Trends definitely help us set an expectation on what we think will happen. And when I look at it, and Joe actually just said secondary, I agree. We definitely need help in the secondary. But outside of Matthew, we haven't invested much into the secondary. Like I think that Veach looks at safety as a valuable position. He went and paid Matthew. He drafted Thornhill in the second round. But look at the cornerbacks on this roster, right? Snead is our biggest investment, if you will, as far as assets. We took Snead in the 4th round. Fenton was
he was in the middle.
Yeah, he was a 4th rounder. Fenton was a 5th or 6th rounder.
Yeah.
Ward, who is a free agent now, that if you guys watched the video on Sunday, I don't want back, but he was an undrafted free agent. Baker, we signed off the streets basically for next to nothing. Your favorite player, Mike Hughes, signed him off the streets for next to nothing, right off the streets where you want to kick him back out to.
Yeah. Yeah, they're talking
I believe
about,
if I quote you correctly, let me know if I'm correct with this when I talk about Mike Hughes. Go find another sport.
Yeah. Yeah. Curling or something. I don't know. Get it. They're talking about Malcolm Butler from Tennessee would be a good cornerback for the Chiefs to pick up. I know he's probably going to be a little bit expensive. You got Geno Atkins at defensive tackle with Cincinnati. And then on the edge to maybe take, Frank Clark's spot. I'm glad I'm forgetting his name so much. I just
I hope we forget that he's on our roster and just release him.
Yeah, right. Well, we got Dante Fowler from the Rams, and you got Oliver Vernon from Cleveland. They're free agents, and maybe we'll take a look at them, see if maybe you can plug them in on the defensive line, because the line is going to be the main thing that the Chiefs need to focus on. One is protecting Mahomes. We learned that from the Super Bowl. But 2, we're only going to have Chris Jones, and we might see Melvin Ingram gone. We might see Frank Clark gone, and so that leaves some holes in that defensive line right there. And, you lose your line. Who cares about the secondary, and who cares about your wide receivers? Because you lose the game on the line, you lost the battle in the first place.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think that Veach has to make a choice. You either invest heavily in free agency and the draft on the defensive line, and you make your defensive focus on getting to the quarterback, or you spend your efforts and your money in the secondary and provide the coverage on the back end to give your line a little more time to get there. Now, I think you go with the defensive line. The average time for quarterbacks in the AFC West to get the ball out this year was like 2.4 seconds.
That is really, really quick, because it used to be about 4 seconds.
Yeah, it's insane. So you got to have the guys that can get there quickly, because coverage can only hold up for so long, no matter how good they are. But I think these definitely got to kind of make the choice for sure. Joe, I agree with you, Joe. And I appreciate that as well. Joe says, I love this. Y'all were made for this. But Ingram needs to come back.
Thank you.
Are you saying Ingram needs to come back to KC or come back to Pittsburgh?
Probably Pittsburgh.
I agree that he needs to come back to KC. I think he was a good fit for what we do. He brought a spark to the team as well. He's not an expensive option. He's a vet. People can follow his lead.
Yeah, he's definitely a keeper. He's definitely a keeper. I'd say that.
Yeah, if you can bring him back, it's going to be a reasonable price. I think we could do that. I think we could go make a splash move at our other defensive end spot, and our starters are locked up at that point. And then we can go draft somebody, even if we do want to draft them early. I mean, we have 4 picks in the first 102 picks. use any one of those four based on what value you find for a young defensive edge that can play, get some rotational in there and get some experience. And you have him ready to go next year. And, you know, Ingram will be a 1-year deal, I would assume. But, yeah, okay. So Joe says, yeah, KC, bring him back. Yeah. Pittsburgh, he didn't seem to be a good fit, whether it was the scheme or the coaching or just his willingness. It wasn't a good fit in Pittsburgh. Just wasn't working out. But I do thank Pittsburgh for letting us have him for next to nothing, basically. But yeah, I think it was a great signing, and yeah, I think defensive end, defensive tackle as well. We need somebody that can get pressure and really complement Chris Jones. I think we have to be careful about who we bring in as the defensive tackle next to Jones, because if you watch Jones play, like obviously he's great, but he doesn't really have like gap discipline and things like that. Like he's getting to the quarterback no matter what route he has to go to get there, which can really leave lanes open. You can't have two guys like that next to each other. We have to have somebody that's very sound in their pursuit to complement Chris Jones. We don't need somebody that just plays alongside him. We need somebody that really complements what he does, and I think that has to be taken into consideration. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Early on in the season, they had him playing outside of his normal position, and he probably didn't feel very comfortable, although, you know, he said he was just fine, but everybody could tell that he just wasn't. And once we put him back into his normal spot there on the line, he was doing his normal deeds, his normal dirty deeds there on the line. Oh, my gosh. When I said dirty deeds, I started thinking of Dirty Dan Sorensen.
Mike Hughes is your favorite.
Well, Dirty Dan's a lot better than Mike Hughes. Dirty Dan, what I liked about him is he would get down and lower his shoulder and just square up with you. You saw that a couple times where he just squared up with somebody. Like my favorite was probably the Tennessee Titans quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, one time. He almost got the first down, but he just ran into the Sorensen wall. But hey, he just gets beat too much on them deep passes, man. And it gets tiresome to watch time in and time out. And we just, like I said, fired our secondary coach and their safeties coach. I'm sorry, but
Madison, Sam Madison.
Yeah, it's
not fired. His contract was up.
Oh, okay. Don DeLuiso.
Oh, got you. Yeah. Sam Madison was our basically our secondary coach. He's our quarterbacks coach.
He went on to
Miami.
I got you. Went on to Miami.
The Chiefs are super like secretive. Like they don't put out to the public like their coaches' contracts. No. Like you have no idea when their contract's going to end until it ends, and they're like, oh, by the way, so and so contract ended. It's like, wait a minute, had no idea. Like they don't put that out to us, unfortunately.
They don't put too much out to the press at all anyways. When you go to ask them questions, all you'll get is bread and butter answers, you know, every time. And it almost seems like they're scripted. And of course they probably are. They got PR guys telling them, hey, if they mention this, just sway to this, just sway to that. And that's a lot what the Chiefs do. They don't get down. But the Royals, on the other hand, they got more leniency when it comes to that. Heck, they'll get out there with Salvi dumping water on them, talking at the post game, you know, and it's fun like that. You don't really see that with the Chiefs. It's more, seems more, you know, scripted and whatnot. And they're not allowed to when it comes to the Chiefs, which is fine. Keeps them reserved, keeps them out of trouble, you know.
Joe says, Juju for Dan, heads up. If they were both still under contract with their respective teams, yes, 100%. You can have Dan. Now, Dan, he served his purpose with the Chiefs, right? He made some big plays for us, you know, through playoff runs and things like that. This year, there weren't enough big plays to cover up all of the bad plays, right? He had one, maybe two picks. I remember the one pick that he had when, you know, everybody was trashing Dan Sorensen. He had a pick and everybody was elated for him.
They were very timely interceptions. So it made him seem like the hero. You know, he won that game and against the Chargers and picked off Rivers there in the end zone to win it for the Chiefs, and then he usually wins the games for us like that. But on the all around, you watch the whole game, the whole film, he is. It's like he's trying to make up for all that he's done wrong. And
Yeah, like I said, he did his thing for us, right?
Yeah.
I'm not knocking what he did 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Like, he was an intricate part. He definitely made some huge plays for this franchise, but he might be the first player we always talk about somebody losing a step. He might be the first player I've ever seen from one season to the next lose 3.
Oh, man. Yeah.
He was burnt left and right. And I will tell you, Sean, the most frustrating thing to watch is Dan Sorensen come in on 3rd and 10. They put him up in the box, making you think he's going to blitz. And 4 seconds before you ever snap it, he's starting to back up, so he's not blitzing. And as you're getting ready to snap, he turns around and takes off sprinting back.
Yeah.
And then
by the time you get turned around like this, you're looking at the guy's name running past you. Like, oh, I'm covering him, I guess.
He's basically racing a wide receiver on a 30-yard race. Dan Sorensen gets a 10-yard head start.
Yeah.
And it's a touchdown for the other.
Well, that's why I like whenever you see that from the Badger a lot, where he'd stand sideways and have his arms out for balance, and he looked like he'd be quick to move any direction at any time. That's what made him so special, is he could do that so quickly. And Dan Sorensen's kind of more of a straightforward guy. Like, he sees his target, he's going to go straight for it and get the tackle. He'll get the tackle. We've seen that especially in the Houston Texans game whenever he stopped that 4th down fake punt.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. And man,
like he's made huge plays.
Heroes, what's that?
Like I said, he's made huge plays.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But the past is the past. It's definitely a what have you done for me now or what have you done for me lately league. And your boy Mike Hughes, you know what he did for us lately?
I can't remember.
He got his
one
ankles
good thing.
broke on the way to a touchdown in the end zone.
Oh, yeah. It looked like he kind of ran into the guy, just boop, and then fell down.
That one, too. I'm talking about the one where the guy basically ran a post. He gave a little hitch outside and cut back in, and Hughes just crumbled, fell right there on his butt.
I think I saw Thornhill just put his arms out like, what was that? I guess he might
There's about 5 videos out there of the Honey Badger doing that as Sorensen or Mike Hughes got burnt, just throwing his arms up like, what are y'all doing? Yeah. Pittsburgh, if you guys want them, you guys can have Hughes. You guys can have Sorensen. Feel free. They are all yours. They do not need to be back in Arrowhead unless it is in a visiting team's uniform. So, Sean, what's going on with the Royals?
Oh, nothing. It's just a strike. So, man, I hope we draft the cornerback.
Hey, I did actually have a Royals question for you. Obviously, it's the combo show. I do want to make sure we incorporate both, even though football is more prominent at the moment. But I did want to get at least one question out there for you.
Sure.
So I was kind of looking over the roster and who we could potentially have in the big leagues, this season, if there is this season. And I was looking specifically at second base and shortstop.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm looking, and I realized that second base, shortstop, that's only 2 positions, but there's 3 guys who really jump out to me as options there.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get your feedback. So Nikki Lopez, I believe, didn't he lead the team in batting average last year?
Yes, he did at an even 300. And he would be our number 1 when it comes to that roster spot at shortstop. Yeah.
Okay. And you actually talked about that in your last video too, right?
Not in depth.
You talked about his batting average, though, right?
Yeah, his batting average. Yeah.
Okay.
He led the team with a
go check out the Royal Way that posted just a couple of days ago. You can catch some information about that. But we also have Mondesi in that second base or shortstop spot, and then we have the young gunner, Bobby Witt Jr.
Yes, sir.
Also second base or shortstop. So those 3 guys, we only have 2 positions up the middle. Who do you see playing where? Who's the odd man out? Like, what do we do there?
Well, what they'll do is they'll pick one out and they'll tout one as having a great arm, and that's why they'll just throw him over at third base. But what you have here is 3 or 4 shortstops on the team. Kyle Isbell and Whit Merrifield are probably going to share right field. We'll probably throw Whit Merrifield, who's a great second baseman or shortstop, just throw him out in right field, which is fine with me. Just fine with me. That's usually your weakest spot on the roster on the defensive side of the ball is right field. So if it's Whit Merrifield, that's great. But we also have Raul Mondesi, or Adalberto Mondesi. Sorry, I'm that old. I said his dad.
Me too.
Yeah, Adalberto Mondesi is their home at shortstop. That's where he plays. So, it's going to be interesting to see who actually is there. So it's probably going to be a fluid situation where everybody's going to be moved everywhere.
Yeah. I think Lopez is more of a second baseman. I agree. I think Mondesi is the best option at shortstop, which leaves Bobby Witt as the odd man out. But if he's able to play third base, I think that's probably makes where
they'll take him, because they have been saying that he's got a really good arm. And like I said, whoever has that really good arm is going to be over at third. And it might be Mondesi. Mondesi's got that pretty good arm too. He could throw a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. I didn't know if you knew that.
And, I knew. I mean, obviously, I know he has a cannon. He seems a little thin, if you will, to be playing the hot corner over there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's why his home spot is there up the middle.
Yeah, he's got the agility, he's got the speed to get into the holes. Like, I think shortstop is his best fit. So, do you think Witt starts off the season, if the season starts off, on the big league roster? Or do you think we leave him in like AAA for a while for that extra year of arbitration?
Well, like I said, we both agreed that we are pretty jammed with talent here on the infield side of the ball, so it makes a lot of sense to really wait. Probably, I'd say about a month or two, unless an injury comes up, which sometimes that happens. Somebody needs a break here or there, and they call him up. But I'm seeing we're going to wait and take our time on. He's a huge investment. He got the biggest bonus signing that the Royals have ever had, around $8.5 million. So we're going to take our time with him. We're not just going to bring him up and throw him in there, even though we're all anxious to see him go. He's going to sell some tickets. He's going to be exciting to see, with 33 home runs in the minor leagues and 297 batting average, 97 RBIs. So he's got that offensive power with him, and he brings a great infield glove. So.
Yeah, he's no Bubba Starling, right?
No, absolutely not. We did pay him the record at that time, and I'd say he's had about 97 games at the Royals, and we don't remember a single one.
Nope, not at all. He probably should have went to college and played quarterback.
Yeah,
I think that probably would have been better.
He got paid. He's happy. He got to step onto the field, which it happens so many times where these minor leaguers play their whole entire career in the minor leagues, and they never get to suit up for the 25-man roster. Hey, I'd say it wasn't a bust for his career. It just wasn't a shining one in the majors.
I agree. We'll see what happens and see if we get baseball this year. I hope they get it taken care of, because I was actually talking to somebody the other day about the lockout that happened before with baseball, and I was like that was so detrimental to the league. Like, when that happened, like, it was devastating. You know what I mean?
They're in '94.
Yeah, so many people, like, I feel like they lost a huge part of their fan base when that happened, and they've been trying to work to get it back ever since. And they aren't back. I don't think they'll ever quite get back where they were back in the '90s before the strike. But this is just going to set it back even more, right? Don't you feel like we'd lose another chunk of fans?
Yeah, it absolutely was devastating for the fans and the game itself. The Royals were on pace to make the playoffs in '94. We were a great team with George Brett from '93 and before. We were just moving on from George Brett, and we still had some of the good players that surrounded him during that time, and we were ready to go. But I tell you what, after that strike, something happened to the Royals. They fell off a cliff. They didn't survive that little breakup that they had with the MLB.
Yeah, not at all. I think a lot of small market teams, I think, really felt that.
Mm-hmm.
because you go on strike, you're losing all the revenue that would be coming in from the games, and now they're not occurring. That money's not coming in your small market teams. I think they felt the wrath of that more than anybody else.
Yeah, you just waiting. I'm just waiting for the time where we finally get a collective bargaining agreement to where we're actually talking about a salary cap in baseball. That'd be beautiful, but we're just so far from that, from the fact that you've got some teams that have a payroll of about 90 million, and then you have some that are inching closer to 300 million, and maybe even 350 by next year, So it's hard to find a middle on that and tell these teams with all this money that, hey, you need to give to the poor, give to the needy, and even the stuff out. And they're like, man, we earned this. This is our money. They're
right.
Tell them to be happy that they're in the major leagues. I don't know. It's just sad to watch because you've seen it with the Royals, and the worst time that's ever happened in the Royals' history has got to be when we had Johnny Damon, Jermaine Dye, and Carlos Beltran all in the outfield, and then something happened to where they wanted to get paid, and we're like, gosh, I wish I could. It's like having one of those high-maintenance girlfriends from Rio de Janeiro or LA or Hollywood, and you can't afford it. Baby, I need another bag. What a dime. I can't buy you a Gucci bag. I'm sorry. I can't. I gotta let you go, baby. It's been great, But
yeah. If the Royals were a fraternity, they would be broke, fight broke, right?
Right. And it's sad to see because they grow up in your system, and we grew them up from the minor leagues just to watch them, and then they progress and they hit their ceiling, and we've got to win right then. And we figured that out. That's why when we got Moustakas and we got Hosmer, we saw them. We knew now is the time. Let's go. And it worked
Jumped
out
on it.
Perfect.
Went and grabbed all the pitching that we could for those 2 years to get the job done because, you're right. Prior to that, like our AAA was really good, but our major leagues was basically the AAA for everybody else. Like we were the Kansas City Royals at Kauffman Stadium were kind of the farm system for a lot of the other teams in the league that could outpay us for players.
Yeah. Well, there in 2003, we just didn't get the clue. We didn't know what we had. We had a World Series team at that time. If we would have just got our pitching together when we had that great outfield before we had to let them go because we couldn't afford them, we could have probably made a good run. But for some reason, I just feel that the idea of actually doing it.
Yeah. For the longest time.
Didn't. I was going to say it didn't. It wasn't going to happen until we won that wild card against Oakland. When we won that wild card against Oakland, then we were like, oh my gosh, we're in the playoffs. We can actually do this. And then we just hit the gas pedal,
Yeah.
So it takes actually getting in there.
It all came down to getting the pitching. Like that's what it came down to. Because if you look as far back as me and you can probably remember, we never really had a good pitching staff. We had a couple of good pitchers. Like our number 1 and 2 might be really good. Yeah. We may even have a good closer with that. But our number 3, 4, and 5 were like, wait, who were they? Right. We never had that solid staff put together other than really those 2 years recently that we made a run and got to the World Series back-to-back years. That was like the only time I can remember us having a pitching staff where you looked at the staff from top to bottom and you were like, hey, everybody is average or better, and some were great as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely love good pitching and a good bullpen. I'm really worried about it this year with our bullpen. The starting pitching doesn't worry me that much. They had decent stats. Of course, they didn't get their wins and losses as high as you'd like because, of course, we didn't get that many wins. The reason being wasn't really much the pitching. The offense wasn't that great last year. Like I said, the highest average was 300 by a guy who didn't play as many games as the normal starters. You had one guy hitting home runs, and that was Salvi. The next guy only hit about 17. But with this pitching staff, I just want to see some more with the bullpen because you get tired of seeing the Royals just give up the game at the end of the game. You sit there through the game at the Royal Stadium. It's a good game until the 7th inning, and then, oh, great, here comes the bullpen. The starter got taken out, and we lose the game.
It's crazy. That
Nobody
was
likes
such a
that
huge
story.
strength for us in our good years.
Yeah.
That was a huge strength for us. Our bullpen was lights out. 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, you weren't scoring anything.
No, it was historically good. I mean, our worst guy was probably Luke Hochevar, and everybody loved that guy.
Did not like Hochevar myself as a starter.
No, at that year.
He was terrible as a starter. Out of the bullpen, though, I was okay with it. I was okay with him out of the bullpen.
I agree. That's why I say maybe just that year when we went on that run. I think everybody liked everybody when we went on that run. That's why Alcides Escobar, or no. Omar Infante, is that? He made the All-Star game, and he wasn't even good. It was just like, we love the Royals, so that's why sometimes your love for a player could be like, yeah, but he wasn't really that good.
Who's your favorite player off of that team, whether it be the year we went and lost or the year that we won? Who's your favorite player off of those teams?
Which years?
The 2 years we went to the World Series.
Oh, my favorite years.
Recently, yeah.
My favorite players, the top one would probably be Alex Gordon because of the longevity of his career, and I just watched him grow up from Nebraska all the way through his career, and his near the end of it. We always knew he had a few years left with the Royals, and that's it. The other guys were just new and young, and we thought they'd just be around for forever. We didn't think they'd be gone that long. So probably him. But of course, he wasn't the best player during that time. He came up clutch. Winning the first game against the Mets in the World Series in the bottom of the 9th to take it into extra innings. Actually, he didn't win it for us, but he continued the game for us to win. But the second would be probably Moose, because he brought the fans into the game so much to where you'd hear Moose, and I love
for
it.
Sure.
So
okay. Kane's number one for me. I loved his energy. Like, his energy was not only was it very high energy, it was infectious. He brought out the energy of everybody else as well. He had that swag about him, which you don't see a lot of swag in baseball. And he kind of had that swag. He was definitely my favorite throughout that time. Joe Prince wants to know, who's the old fat pitcher y'all played against?
Oh, that's the
Cologne?
guy from, I know who he's talking about. He's the guy from the Mets. Oh.
Yeah. Was it Cologne?
Yeah, it was. That's exactly who it was.
Yes. 1 point for me. I don't remember his first name, though.
Yeah, they brought him in, and he was getting old. He was like an old Fernando Rodriguez. Is that his name? That old fat pitcher from back in the day. Yeah, I forgot his name. But they brought him in there, and he just gives up the game. It looked bad. There was a couple pitchers, though, on the Mets. There was another closer that they had that –
the guy was he the one that – was it the Mets that had the dude that always had the hat on cockeyed?
Yep. Yeah, and it was him. Both of them lost him some games, so you can't just pin it on the big fat guy. Yeah. But he was one of those jolly old players that everybody loved, and then he's not really that great. Oh, I guess I liked him too much.
Just so you guys, everybody watching, just so you guys know, this is how we can guarantee you that we will be very truthful. We are apparently not calling people by names now. He is the old fat guy that played pitcher. So just so you guys, we're going to be honest. We're going to offer our opinions here. The old fat guy that played pitcher.
We didn't call him Colin. It's Cologne.
But I'm so bad with names, especially for people I don't see play often. But the dude that had his hat cocked to the side for the Mets, if I remember correctly, he had a phenomenal year. He was lights out. When they brought him in, they was just kind of this game's a wrap, and we rocked him when he came in.
I think his last name was Franco or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah,
I think it was.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, we rocked him, man. It was pretty awesome to see. I really wanted him to come back to Kansas City for the 6th or 7th game, whatever, come back home and have us win it at home. That would have been cool.
Yeah. It was obviously it was great that we won it regardless, but that was actually the moment that we won it. The place I was at watching it, I was in Lee Summit at the Peanut, watching the game there when we won it, and so they cranked up music really loud as soon as we won it, and it's literally the only time in my life that I could ever say that I actually enjoyed hearing Fetty Wap. Because that is what they blasted, because it was Kane's walk-up song, and that is what they were blasting when we won. So for a short moment in time, I liked Fetty Wap for probably about 2 minutes. But it's cool because like that song will always remind me of that moment of us winning the World Series. So Fetty Wap, if you're watching, just know, man, I loved you for about 2 minutes, and I think about my Royals every time I hear you.
And I see we've got about 2 minutes left here in the show. I guess I can get my little testimonials out, my little confession with Fetty Wap and Lorenzo Cain. I did get drunk off that Remy Martin. I'm sorry, during the Royals parade. Well, we could talk about that at another time, maybe when we win the World Series again. Maybe, I don't know. Don't tell me it's going to be another 30 years.
I think another Super Bowl is more likely to happen before another World Series.
Well, then it's going to be 50 years for you. No way.
The Empire can feel free to put up a wager against the Kingdom on which one will win a championship first. You let me know what you want to wager. I got my money on the Kingdom. The Chiefs will win the Super Bowl before the Royals. Yeah, I'm right. No bets. You're not going to bet me on that one. All right, fair enough. I wouldn't bet me on that one either if I was you. Well, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. That's all the time we have for today. Definitely appreciate you guys joining us for the Combo Show Live. Remember, you can catch our recorded episodes on Fridays. We'll be live again next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central Time right here on Stadium Drive Sports. In the meantime, I'm Kevin, host of the 12th Man at Arrowhead Drive, and you can catch the 12th Man at Arrowhead Drive every Sunday and every Wednesday. Sean, let them know.
I'm Sean from the Royal Way. Catch me every Monday and Thursday on the Royals off days, only on Stadium Drive Sports.
Appreciate it. Until next time.